Hey everybody, welcome back. This is now Taurus 2. So this is our next Decan video. These are the cards that were in place for the Decan that just happened, and we'll be switching these all out in a moment and changing to the next cards that are coming forward. But I just wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about how these cards, particularly the Five of Pentacles, and how that reflected over the last 10 days or so, and how this all came in, and what and just the different energies that were at play in my life. The Five of Pentacles, I didn't necessarily find that anything really, like, material wise or financially, like, nothing crazy happened. I just felt like money was a little tighter than usual. There was a little bit of a kind of a depressing energy kind of lingering around. Seems like nobody really has the extra money to do anything fun, or to go anywhere fun, or to do anything of those like fun things to do, right? Extra things to do. And that's all I kind of found. Nothing happened that like emptied a bank account or anything crazy like that, right? But I just found it to be kind of a low energy time, like I said, and kind of depressing. Everyone's just kind of in a stump. And kind of that feeling of that, like on, like down in the dumps kind of feeling. And I felt it across the board. Like all I kept hearing is like, well, I really would like to go there and do that, but I don't really have the extra money to do that. And I feel like that's kind of where it was that it was like that extra money to go out and have fun, or to do the extra things. And I feel like that's kind of where that came from. And that was kind of the energy that was happening. But interesting enough, at the same time, I felt like there was opportunities and things that presented itself, and maybe perhaps were manifested, right? Like with the Magician card, where there was a little bit of ways to make a little extra money here and there, to have a little bit of money to go out and do those extra things. So I felt like that was kind of like the energy that was happening with this. I did not physically hurt myself. I mean, I did stub my toe. Um but like nothing crazy. Like I didn't, twist an ankle or hurt a leg or anything like that. So the physical aspect of this card did not affect me any. It might have affected some of you. If any of you hurt your foot or had a physical injury, let me know during this time, right? If it affected you physically, maybe. It didn't affect me physically. But like I said, it had that overall general, just kind of down in the dumps feeling. Mercury went back to its home, so it went out of retrograde during this period, which you could really feel that lift of energy happened. And it happened like it's happening just as all these cards are changing, like really super close within a day or two. So I feel like that really is going to bring in that the next card that we're going to be spending time with, the Six of Pentacles. It's really bringing in that Six of Pentacle energy. But yeah, so I found this to be kind of like some lessons learned, right? Or maybe lessons from the past coming back up and kind of resurfacing in a way. Maybe lessons to do with like finances, or material possessions or belongings and things like that. That's kind of how it went for me. It did not go anywhere as bad as I thought it was going to. Like, seriously, I was like, oh crap, like it's going to be chaos again. And it really honestly wasn't. It was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I just sensed a very underlying feeling of just down in the dumps and not able to do the extra things. And that's where it kind of reflected in my life and the people around me. So when we switch these things out, we're switching these cards here. These three at the top are staying the same for now, but all of these are going to be changing except that one and the Hierophant. The Hierophant's hanging out with us for a little bit longer. So let's switch these out and look at the new cards that are coming into play. So the Magician and the Five of Pentacles are leaving us. And we're having the Six of Pentacles coming into its place. And the High Priestess, which is really interesting. I'm kind of excited for this chapter, or this decan, I guess I should say, because I really want to see how these cards work in, especially with the Hierophant and the Priestess. Like, it's so like, I thought the Magician and the Hierophant was weird. I feel like the High Priestess and the Hierophant's going to be kind of an interesting combination as well too, because this one's changing out. We're changing this out. This is going to the Moon. So we're bringing in that lunar energy, which is tied in with the High Priestess, right? And that one's done. And then let's switch out these bottom ones. The Six of Pentacles and the High Priestess. So in the Hermetic Tarot, the Six of Pentacles is Lord of Material Success. And the High Priestess is the Priestess of the Silver Star. Really neat. Okay. So that's pretty much what's changing just for this one. We are still looking at the extra cards we have, which we still have. The Ace of Pentacles is still happening. The Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles is still happening. The Knight of Pentacles, I believe, will be changing the next decan. So this is our last time with him. And these are just our extra cards that are a little bit more underlying energies that we can tap into if we really wanted to look at them. And remember, I don't really visit them too much because when we switch them out, I kind of go back over them. But they're here and they're there. So if you want more energy to tap into during this period, they're kind of there hanging out. And like I said, we are in our last decan with the Knight of Pentacles. That will be changing the next video. All right, so let's get into Susan's book. Let's see what she's saying about all of this. And then I'm going to get into the individual books and start reading about these and what's coming forward and what's happening. But today I feel like I'm going to just jump right into Susan's stuff, and then we'll go back and we'll read over this other stuff after. All right, so we are in Taurus 2. So in Susan's book, she talks about how the High Priestess and the Hierophant actually are very much like the Emperor and the Empress, where they kind of just suit each other. She refers to them as salt and pepper, being, different but the same, and they work together and bring things forward. And I can see that. Obviously, we've got the two pillars are happening in both of the cards, right? We're kind of getting the same feeling as far as like the robes, the fancy headpieces that they're wearing. I'm gonna say the most similarities that's coming forward to me is the two pillars. I never associated the two pillars in both of the cards. I mean, obviously they are not the same pillars, but there is the two pillars existing in both of these cards, which it never really dawned on me, honestly, to tell you the truth. Which is very interesting. I never really noticed that. She said the differences between these two is we've got the esoteric and the esoteric, which are two very similarly pronounced words, but meaning two very different things. One is spelt with an S and one is spelt with an X. So with the priestess, it is hidden inner secret, right? That's the meaning of the word with the S. Then when you go to the spelling with the X, it means knowledge is public, outer, and revealed. So this one, the knowledge is hidden, inner, and secret. And this one, it's public, outer, and revealed, right? So that's the two difference between the two. They are pronounced slightly different, but they're pretty close to the exact same words, other than one spelled with an S and one spelled with an X. She also talks about how the Hierophant is sometimes referred to in some decks as the High Priest. So you've got the High Priest and the High Priestess, right? So they are very much like that Emperor, Empress energy coming forward. And she talks about how the Hierophant, the word is Greek, and it's translated to the revealer of the sacred, whereas with the High Priestess, by contrast, is about concealing things. She has knowledge of hidden in plain sight, which is very, very interesting. Very interesting concepts. And then she talks about how you probably have never seen a High Priestess card that has not had a veil aspect somehow portrayed in it, showing like the hiding of things in plain sight, right? That piece of cloth that's see-through but yet concealing. So in the RW card, the veil behind the priestess is printed with the pomegranates. And that is about, that is a nod to the rites of Demeter and Persephone, where initiates the learning of the secrets of life, death, and renewal, right? So that's kind of what that is implementing or nodding towards. And then it talks about how she sits between the two pillars of Solomon, which is Boaz and Yahin. I believe that's how you pronounce them. They are the black and the white, the lunar and solar, the force and form, the opposites energies, right? That yin and yang energy. And now she talks about the Hierophant's pillars, how they are just plain stone. They are blank and uninscribed, not a wonder to behold. So there's nothing, there's no secrets here. There's no wondering to them. They're just pillars that you would see in buildings all the time, right? In churches and, different buildings like that, right? So there's nothing different with them, where these are like, you're like, well, why is the one black and white? Why does the one have a B? Why does the one have a J? What do those stand for? You're wondering what that's about. Where you see these, you're just like, they're two pillars. You don't really put much more thought into it, right? So that's really quite interesting how that's all depicted into these cards and what they stand for, right? And then she talks about how the high priestess is the unknown and the Hierophant reveals it. The high priestess is silent where the Hierophant speaks, because his associated zodiac sign Taurus corresponds to the human voice. The high priestess governs all things that can only be known in the heart and mind and not expressed openly, where the Hierophant, by contrast, governs all knowledge which is given and received. The high priestess is the unconscious mind, and the Hierophant knows every rule required to live righteously. So she talks about how the Six of Pentacles is very much that giving of mercy, or that you being strucken with the spirit of generosity, or someone around you being strucken with the spirit of generosity. But it's that feeling of giving, sorry, I should say. Because she speaks about how you just came out of the Five of Pentacles, which is about famine and hardships, and having tight wallets or purses, and knowing what it's like to not have extra, right? And then you're coming into that energy where you're able to give, or someone's able to give. And the tides have kind of changed a little bit, where there is a little bit extra to give to people or to have given to you, right? So it's very much that generosity and that helping out, and knowing what it's like to struggle and have the tough times of the Five of Pentacles. And then when things get better, wanting to be able to help others that are in the Five of Pentacles out of the Five of Pentacles by giving this, by doing the Six of Pentacles, right? By that giving and that receiving and that generosity and that helping, right? It does tend to be a little bit more in material gains because it is the pentacle energy, right? But it's just about being able to help when you can help, and being able to be there for individuals when you can, because you know what it's like to be in the Five of Pentacles, right? And that's kind of the feeling around it, is that generosity and that just helping things out. When I look at the card, I really see how those scales are almost exactly equal. There isn't one up higher than the other. They're pretty close to being equal, meaning that balance, or just that things are fair going across the card, right? And it's just that thankfulness. Once again, we have two figures, just like we had two figures on the Five of Pentacles. We have two figures here again where someone's actually helping them or assisting them, right? So I feel like that's pretty cool too when you look at it that way. And Susan talks about how when this card's in place, when this Decan's happening, to just truly appreciate the things that are working and the things that are going smoothly, the things that are happening, the things that are working, um, being very important because we know what it's like when things don't work out and things don't go well. So enjoy this opportunity of things just kind of the things that are working and that are working well, enjoy them, appreciate them, right? Celebrate them, share them if you can, right? Because that's kind of what this card is all about, is that generosity, that helping, and that sharing. Quite amazing. I already see how this is playing out in my life. It's interesting because I feel like these events are happening in my life just a little bit before the Decan falls into place. So I'm just like a little bit ahead of everybody. And maybe that's just because I'm able to then do this and assist you guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little ahead of everybody. I've always been a little ahead of everybody when things happen. Like when Mercury goes RX, it hits me first before it starts hitting everybody else. It's always been like that. I'm not sure why, but this is already coming into play. I already see how this is manifesting in my life. It hasn't manifested yet. So maybe that's what will fall into place in the next 10 days. But I can see where this is already coming into my life. All of these cards, how this is all already falling in. So let's take a look at these other surrounding cards. Remember, I'm not going to talk about these. I already did that in the last video, and I don't really revisit them until they change again. But let's look at the moon energy. Let's see what the Stars Divine says about that. We'll flip our Moonology card and see what's going on with that. And then let's get into the Hermetic Tarot's cards, right? So let's go there first. Since we've just talked about these, let's get into these before we go to these other ones. So the Six of Pentacles is Lord of Material Success. So in the Hermetic Tarot, I just want to see what they talk about in here. All right, so we've got Six of Pentacles, Lord of Material Success. A hand from the bottom grasps a branch of white roses with buds and open petals, each of which touches a pentacle. In the center disc appears a hexagram and a swastika. The upper and lower discs contain the quarter moon and the symbol for Taurus. Moon in Taurus, and then they talks about the degrees, and then she names the angels, or they name the angels. So it's interesting how in this card it talks about the lower discs, the upper and lower discs containing the quarter moon. We are in the 3/4 moon, but it's interesting that that's on there. And they don't say what the purpose of that is, why the moon card, why that's on there. Very beautiful though. It's a very beautiful card. There's a calmness to the card, I find. It feels nice. Okay, let's get into the High Priestess, the Priestess of the Silver Star. The moon appears above the seated priestly figure of Isis, the eternal virgin. She is adorned in the purest feminine light of the moon, the same light that serves as a veil to hide the moon, the same light that serves as a veil to hide the internal spirit. The high priestess holds upon her knee a book partially concealed by her mantle, which holds the truth beneath the veil of feminine light. At her breast she holds a lyre, the law of Artemis, for she is also a huntress. And like Diana, she hunts by enchantment. This card rules the path of the camel that runs from Cather to Teprith on the Tree of Life. The same path runs between the two gigantic pillars besides the throne upon which the high priestess is majestically seated. The high priestess controls the energy of life between the two pillars that are topped by spiraling pentacles. Pinnacles, sorry. At the bottom of the card are the large spheres of her throne. Some researchers view the seated figure in this card as the illustrious and controversial Pope Joan, who allegedly reigned during the middle of the 9th century. Interesting. So there's our High Priestess card, if I can get to focus in. And you can see all of that's happening. Very interesting because it feels like there's a lot of lunar energy happening within these cards. And we've got the moon present. I pulled out the Moonology card. I feel like there's like some lunar energy really happening within this Decan, which is really cool. Obviously, the moon is part of it, right? So, and the High Priestess is very lunar. But Susan's book, she talks about how the Six of Pentacles is also tied into lunar energy and phases as well. So I thought that was really cool. I don't see it being depicted on this card, but she does talk about how the Six of Pentacles in some decks do have lunar associations, on them. So that's really interesting how that's all is very. And then we've got the two lunar cards in here or symbols in here. So it's all very interesting how it's all like tied into the moon, right? Very neat. All right. So in the Stars Divine, we've got the moon is intuitive, reflective, soulful, and introspective. It connects to the subconscious and the unconscious psyche. Emotional security is a driving force. It is both nurturer and child. Very interesting. And then let's look at the lunar card that's in place right now. So it's the third quarter moon. And it's interesting because it says adjustments are required. The Moonology deck to me, it either hits dead on or it's a little off. This I feel is a little off, but it depends on how you look at that. Adjustments required, like something's going wrong and you need to fix it and adjust it, or is it something's going really right? And because it's working right, other things need to adjust to suit that, right? So I guess it just all comes down to your interpretation of that, right? You can see that as a positive. You can see that as a positive thing. You can see that as a negative thing. To me, when I look at it, the first thing that popped into my mind was like adjustments. Like, what do you mean adjustments? But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, yeah, adjustments do need to be made in order to come out of the Five of Pentacles to go into the Six of Pentacles. Adjustments are required. And whether that's that generosity, that sharing, that uplifting energy, right? So adjustments are required to have that energy come in and to fall into place. So I do very much feel that that makes a lot of sense, right? So, but once again, like I said, it's all into interpretation. And I threw this in to just kind of have that lunar energy looked at. However, the more and more and more I'm looking at the Moonology with these cards, I feel that they kind of like, I don't find the RW reflects lunar energy so great. Like, it does have lunar cycles and phases in it and talks about it and does embrace it, obviously, with the High Priestess and other cards. But I feel that it's not. Like, it's obviously led more from the place of Zodiac, more so than lunar cycles, right? But the lunar cycles are ever changing, so it kind of makes sense. Where the Zodiac is a little bit more stationary and fixed, right? So, I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, so that is the new energy that's in place for the next 10 days. This is what it's going to look like. So, whether that is you feeling generous and helping out individuals or individuals coming to you to help you that are feeling generous, we're having a beautiful, lovely card of paying it forward, coming back in, right? That generosity, that helping, which is awesome. We're going to have the truth of things coming forward, right? But we also are going to have that hidden aspect of not knowing and the secrets and stuff like that. So we have this High Priestess energy coming in, which is really neat. But yeah, like, I don't know, I'm really excited for this one. I really like these cards. I feel good about this one. The last deck, and I was like, ugh, like, really, like, I really don't feel like dealing with crap again, right? Where this one, I feel like, I don't know, I really like the lunar aspect of these cards. Like I keep saying, I feel like there's like a really strong lunar energy in this, which is awesome. But yeah, so this is what's in place. I'll get you the dates. Let me just grab the tablet here. So remember, we're working off of Susan's chart now, off of her wheel, not the other one. So this is now in place from May 1st to May 10th. So these are the cards that we'll be looking at. And then on May 11th will be the next deck can change, and we'll be changing all this up again. But for right now, from the 1st to the 10th, this is the energies that are at play. So embrace them, enjoy what's working in your life. And if you're able to help others, be generous. I hope you have wonderful things come forward for you. And I hope that someone is greatly generous, and fills you with generosity, and is able to help you and give you wonderful things. And like I said, if you're able to do that for others, do so. Help out. Times are tough, and it's always great to be a person that can help. And like I said, it doesn't have to come from a financial platform. It can just be assisting in whichever way that you can to help others, right? Because generosity is contagious. And when one person helps another, then that person wants to help another. And then it just continues down the line. And then it's just a wonderful thing that happens, right? So enjoy the next 10 days, 9 days, sorry. And I will see you guys for the next Decan video on the 11th. Be kind, and thank you for joining in.